Hey, what's up everybody? This is Zanny Cakes and I'm here with another Path of Diablo video, and today we're going to be talking about the Nova Sorceress. So if you're like me, you made a Sorceress as your season starter, did a few Mephisto runs, got a little bit of gear on her, got to 80, and then tried maps and you're like, wow, what the hell, this sucks. And then you stuck to doing Mephisto, maybe some key runs, and then eventually you made something else that actually does good at maps like an Amazon or an Assassin. So that's what happened to me, and I've been messing around on my Sorceress lately, trying to figure out a build that was actually halfway decent for mapping, and I've tried quite a few, and this one is the best that I've found so far. So in this video, I will talk about the mechanics of the build. I will talk about why I do not like Energy Shield in Path of Diablo at all. I'll talk about faster hit recovery and why it's really important on a Sorceress, and then I will also give you some tips and tricks on how to keep your mercenary alive. As you well know, any lightning Sorceress is pretty much useless without their infinity mercenary, so keeping them alive is absolutely crucial to your build doing well. So, and then we'll also go over the stats and skill points involved with the build. I'll show you my gear and then talk about other gearing options. Let me know in the comments down below if you've tried out the Nova Sorceress and whether or not you like them. And with that, let's get into the mechanics. So to first understand why I don't like Energy Shield, you have to understand how Energy Shield actually works. So in Path of Diablo, Energy Shield is capped out at 85% absorption. And with the efficiency, you put points into telekinesis and it makes each point more efficient, but that also caps out at around 85% as well. So basically what this means is if you take 1,000 damage, then 150 of it will go to your life, and the other 850 will go towards your mana. But since you have a cap of 85 to 90% efficiency on your Energy Shield, this means that you take 1.1 mana damage for every 1 life damage that you prevent. So if you take 1,000 damage, that 150 goes to your hit point pool, but you actually lose 935 mana. So you have a fairly small hit point pool and are still able to take quite a bit of damage. And then there's the problem of when you do take damage, you don't have any mana left over to cast your spells with. And then on top of that, having a large mana pool makes your teleport cost insane amounts to be able to actually teleport, so you have to either chug potions or just have ridiculously high amounts of mana regeneration and tons of plus to skills and maxed out teleport. And it's just, I don't like anything about Energy Shield or the way that the playstyle works on Path of Diablo. I also don't like the fact that Energy Shield damage does not factor in resistances. So any of the damage that you take full damage to your mana, and then the portion that is directed to your life will get reduced by resistances and the flat damage reductions. But there's just no way to reduce the amount of mana damage that you take. So, with that being said, that's why I opted to skip out on Energy Shield. This is a Vitality build, so you don't have to worry about your Energy Shield falling off and you dying. You're not as susceptible to things like poison or mana burn, and overall I think it is a much better option. So moving on to faster hit recovery, it's really important for a Sorceress to try and get to the 7 frame faster hit recovery breakpoint, which is 86. Sometimes this is not possible with your gear setup, and faster hit recovery skill charms are very expensive. So you can try for the lower breakpoints like 60, but either way, you want to get faster hit recovery as much as you can, and the reason for this is the spell lock. If you go into a hit recovery animation and it's longer than your cast animation is, then you will simply teleport in place, being stuck in your hit recovery animation, not being able to teleport away to safety, and you usually die. So ideally, you want to hit 86% faster hit recovery, and then this will get you at a 7-frame hit recovery animation, and then you use 105 faster cast rate breakpoint for a 8-frame cast rate. So you recover faster than the cooldown is on your teleport, and therefore you won't actually get stuck in your faster hit recovery animation. So moving on to mercenaries, there's some classes out there that can get by without their mercenary, like Fist of the Heavens Paladin or your Trap Assassin. Your mercenary dies, no big deal. Well, that's not the case on a Lightning Sorceress. You have to have your mercenary all the time because you rely on them to break the lightning immunities just about everywhere. So, one thing to know, when you teleport, your mercenary is considered to be on top of you, and therefore anything that's ranged will target your mercenary first before they target you. And this includes the Hydras, so if you're running the desert map and they have council, the reason that Hydras are just so deadly is they will target your mercenary instead of you every time that you teleport. So that being said, I've been testing out different mercenary setups, and I will show you here in just a second the best setup that I've found specifically to go with this build. I do not think it is the best mercenary setup. However, it's the best that I've been able to test with what I have, and it's been my favorite so far. So with that, we'll hop in game here, and I'll go over gear and show you what my mercenaries got going on. So this is Wahid, and him and I are buddies. He is an Act 2 Defiance mercenary, which is the defensive one. And the reason for that is because he's got Fortitude on with over 1,600 defense, and then quite a bit of defense on the Vampire's Gaze as well. And he's just shy of 12,000 defense rating. And then once his Fortitude actually procs the Chilling Armor, he goes up to almost 16,000. So that makes him very hard to hit, and overall, when your mercenary doesn't get hit, he doesn't take damage. So that is an excellent thing, and overall, he seems to be quite tanky. When he does get hit, he's still got max resistances, as long as he's not cursed or under a conviction aura. And then he's got, the physical damage reduction taken. And then his healing is, instead of being lifesteal, or life gained on hit rather, I'm using lifesteal. And that's not because it's better for healing, it's because I wanted the physical damage reduction. And the way that I compensate for that is I teleport on top of higher hit point mobs that will survive a Nova or two that my mercenary can leech off of. So that way I'm kind of targeting what he's attacking, and I can make sure that when he is attacking, he's attacking things that he can leech from. So overall, it's not that hard to keep him alive because you can control where he goes. And for the most part, he's only attacking once here or there when you teleport on top of stuff. Other than that, you're just dragging him around with you. So that's the best mercenary setup that I've found specifically for this character. Again, I don't think that's the best mercenary setup overall, but it works very well for the Nova Sorceress. So moving on to stats, we got enough strength to hold our gear, base dexterity, and then you can put everything else into vitality if you want to. I personally prefer to try and get my mana pool up to around 750, as you have enough points in to teleport with this build to where you will not have a huge mana drain, but you do get a little bit better mana regeneration, and it just overall makes the build much more smooth. So I've got enough points to, like I said, try and shoot for around 750. You can go higher if you want to. You could try to go for 1,000 hit points and everything else into mana. Either way, it's pretty flexible, but I would recommend putting at least a few points into energy because it just helps smooth out the whole gameplay. Moving on to skills, we've got 1 point in warmth for the mana regeneration. It is absolutely necessary. It's a 1 point wonder. It's one of the best points that you can spend. Cold Tree, we get points in Ice Bolt, Ice Blast, Refrigerate, and then Shiver Armor. Our goal here is the Shiver Armor, as it gives us quite a hefty boost to our defense rating and also slows things that hit us, so it's overall just an exceptional skill to have. And yeah. Moving on to the lightning skill tree, we've got 1 point into static field as a prerequisite. We max out Nova, max out Discharge, and max out Lightning Mastery to capitalize on our Nova damage. We also go 1 point in Charged Bolt, Lightning Surge, Chain Lightning, Telekinesis, Teleport we max out, Energy Shield. We don't actually use Energy Shield at all. We've only got a point in there because we are using Thunderstorm. You only put 1 point into Thunderstorm. You get more damage bonus by putting points into Telekinesis as the synergy than you do by increasing your Thunderstorm level. So you only put 1 point into Thunderstorm. After Teleport is maxed out, you then put all of your remaining points into Telekinesis. So this gives us a very high level teleport, meaning that we will always have the minimum amount of mana drain per cast as possible. And then with our Thunderstorm, it does around 3,000 average damage. So it hits every 0.4 seconds. That means that it's just a added 7,500 lightning damage a second to a single target around you. It's what helps you kill map bosses as well as the act bosses if you're farming essences. It just does a tremendous job of helping you kill high hit point monsters much faster. All right, so let's talk about gear. And before we get started with that, I will say that this is a really actually pretty expensive build. So bear with me. I will tell you a very reliable way that you can actually grind up and obtain this gear level, but it is a very expensive setup to go with. So we already know that on our mercenary, we have the Infinity Thresher, the Fortitude Archon Plate. Ideally, we want our Fortitude in an ethereal, higher defense armor. But I made this originally for my Shockwave Druid, and it's not ethereal, but I just wanted to test it out. So we're also using a Vampire's Gaze, which I need to slam and get sockets in so I can get a Splash Gem, or Splash Jewel, sorry. And then my mercenary should be doing pretty good. For my weapon slot, I'm using Heart of the Oak. You can use Escuda's Temper if you would like. However, it's hard to make up the 40 to resistances. The important part of either of those weapons is the 40% faster cast rate and 3 to skills. Everything else on Heart of the Oak is more of a tanky stat type weapon, whereas Escuda's is meant for damage. For my circlet, I've got a 3-socketed Griffins with 3 perfect lightning facets in it. It's kind of a funny story. I had a plus 10 strength slammed one that I was actually trying to look for a character that had Larzuk to get a single socket into it. and I didn't wait long enough, and I left the game, so I got mad and went and bought a 3 open socketed one to put all 3 of the 5/5 lightning facets that I had sitting on a mule into, and that's how we came along to having this here Griffin's Eye. So moving on to armor, you can use Shaco. I should go back to the helmet slot. You can use Shaco. However, you need to make sure you get 105 faster cast rate. So if you're using Shaco, you'll probably have to use something instead of Frostburns that has 20% faster cast rate. I would recommend Mage Fist, but Trang's gloves are also a very good option if you need cold resistance. So for our chest piece, we're using a 4-socketed Skins of the Viper, and the reason for that is so we can have 4 shell runes in it for 80% faster hit recovery. As I mentioned earlier, we want 86%. So I have 80% on my chest piece, and then I have 2 5% faster hit recovery small charms, and that gets me to my breakpoint for faster hit recovery. I'm using Frostburns because I do not need 20% faster cast rate on my gloves, and it gives me enhanced mana. I'm using a Phoenix Shield. If you do not have a Phoenix Shield, you can use Spirit. However, Phoenix is really what keeps you alive and keeps you just pretty much unkillable in any normal game content, and really helps your survivability and mapping. I would highly recommend trying to get a Phoenix as soon as you can. It's as helpful as it is getting your Infinity. However, once your Infinity is more important than the Phoenix, but the Phoenix would be my next thing to try to get a hold of. So for boots, you can use Silkweaves, War Travelers, Alders. I'm using these pair of boots that I crafted that have 3 resistances on them, some max mana, added mana, and then 30 faster run walk. Any boots with good resistances on them are good. If you can get faster hit recovery, that would also be an excellent thing to get on boots. And yeah, it's a pretty flexible spot. Arachnid Mesh, it's the only belt I can recommend. It's just too good to pass up with the 1 to skills and faster cast rate. I'm using 2 Bolcathos rings. They're both CNC'd. I would prefer to run Stones of Jordan over the Bolcathos, but I unfortunately do not have Stones of Jordan. And then I'm running a Mara's Kaleidoscope. So you can, as long as you're getting your 105 faster cast rate breakpoint, you can mix and match things, try to get the same amount of skills or better. So like you could use a crafted caster amulet that has +2 to sorceress skills on it. Would be very good if you had that instead of Amara's. Like I said, your boot slot is very open and you can mix and match, but this is just the setup that I've gone with to get as much damage output as I can with still having max resistances and 86% faster hit recovery breakpoint. As far as my charms go, I've got 9 lightning skill grand charms. They're all plain. And then a 15-12 sorceress torch and 18-15 annihilus. And then all of my small charms are filling out my resistances. As you can see, my resistances are all max. So I'm maxing all of my resistances with small charms, and then I do have the 2 faster hit recovery ones, and everything else is trying to get as much life as I can. So I told you I was going to tell you how to farm up all of this equipment when it's really expensive and you don't have anything. And the secret to that is you're a sorceress, meaning you're the only character in the game that has the true teleport. So you're the only character in the game that actually runs keys. People are buying keys all the time. They sell for quite a bit, and the majority of people are lazy and don't want to farm them, so they will buy them for high runes. I've recently seen a 9x3 key set, which would be 9 of each of the 3 keys, going for jaw runes. So if you spend a day farming up 9 of each key, you're about halfway there to getting your Phoenix, and you can almost afford your entire Infinity just by selling 1 key set. The other thing that is very good as far as a currency builder to farm as a sorceress would be essences, as you can easily farm the 4 act bosses that drop the essences. Technically, Duriel drops an essence, but it's the same one as Andariel, so you don't have to run both. But the essences, if you get all 4 of them and make a token of absolution, those are going for roughly a Vex rune apiece. So if you just make a build, you can stick with Freezing Pulse if you want to. You can try Frozen Orb, Hydra. You can do Charged Bolt, or really anything at all. Start farming keys and then try and farm essences. Just sell those and you can afford to build this entire character in a relatively short amount of time. As far as the best places to farm, you can do all of the normal game content with no problems whatsoever. And you can also run 6 of the 9 maps. You want to avoid the Musty Crypt, Ruined Citadel, and Burnt Forest, as those ones have lightning immunes that your Infinity cannot break. All the rest of the maps will normally have Infinity break their lightning immunes, and they are all quite easy to farm with this build. So with that, thanks for watching, and good luck, have fun, and I hope to see you out there.